SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk has just made an incredible discovery on Mars that changes everything. It has now been revealed that the discovery is set to change our people's lives forever. What is this discovery and how will it change our lives? This is the big question that needs to be answered. Join me today in this video where we shall explore how Elon Musk has just made an incredible discovery on Mars that changes everything. Have you ever thought about what would happen if something tragic happened to our Earth? Something along the lines of a natural disaster that throws the entire world into disarray and extinguishes all life. The absence of evidence does not change the fact that anything is a possibility. And this has already formed in the mind of the world's richest man. And guess what? He is already working on beginning life on Mars. One of the most fundamental questions that science has not been able to answer to this day is whether or not there is life elsewhere in the universe besides Earth. To the best of our knowledge, there is no other planet in the universe that possesses any physical evidence of the presence of life. Planets like Mercury and Venus, for instance, have temperatures and atmospheres that are inhospitable to life. Any object that tries to approach their atmosphere is either instantly consumed, burned, or melted. Planets like Pluto, on the other hand, have temperatures that average around -232 degrees Celsius, making it impossible for life to exist there as well. If you went there, you would just freeze before realizing that you are on Pluto. The existence of life on extrasolar planets has been shown beyond a shadow of a doubt to be impossible by the existence of these and other similarly harsh environments. Earth is the only well-known planet that is capable of supporting life, and for there to be life on another planet, there are two requirements that must be met. Either an environment that is comparable to that of Earth's, or the environment of the other planets are altered in such a way that life can exist on them. However, there are some people who, in accordance with the laws of physics, believe that the planet that is our neighbor Mars could possibly support life. No human being has ever traveled to Mars to personally investigate the conditions that exist on the surface there. However, due to the scientific instruments developed by NASA, we are now in possession of an unprecedented amount of information regarding the makeup of it. The CEO and founder of SpaceX has not been left out of these adventures. Space Exploration Technologies Corp., which operates as a satellite communications company, a space launch services provider, and a manufacturer of spacecraft, has been a key game player in space exploration. Launching satellites and astronauts, including NASA crews bound for the International Space Station, have both benefited greatly from SpaceX's efforts. With the assistance of this company, Musk was able to make a remarkable discovery that significantly alters our perception of the red planet. Let's take a look at Musk's finding and analyze what it could mean for us in the future. Soil is one of the major factors that contribute to sustaining life on any planet. In addition to serving as the basis upon which everything else is built, soil is also the medium form which all planet life originates and provides a home for an innumerable variety of microorganisms. Earth's soil is habitable because it contains essential nutrients. All of the thousands of different kinds of fungi, bacteria, and invertebrates that exist on this planet are able to call the planet's healthy soils their home. Collectively, these species are the driving force behind the carbon, nitrogen, and water cycles that supply the ecosystem of the Earth with the components necessary for life. On Earth, soils are made up of entirely a mixture of various elements, including minerals, liquid water, gaseous air, and organic matter that is decomposing. The brilliant scientists discovered something extraordinary in the soil of Mars that will convince you that there is the potential for life on the red planet. The dirt on Mars is more commonly referred to as the Martian soil. The Martian soil is made up of different minerals, with only minute amounts of water present. Because there are no living things on Mars, the soil does not contain any organic matter. This is one of the characteristics that differentiates the soil on Mars from the soil on Earth. Nevertheless, Elon Musk and NASA scientists came to the conclusion that this environment could support human habitation. This is based on the data collected from a robot that is currently exploring Mars. Musk has already discovered the minerals essential for the existence of life on Mars, despite the fact that we have not yet received the soil here. It was found out that there is chloride, magnesium, sodium, and potassium on Mars. According to scientists, these are the exact minerals that are found in our soil. In addition to this, they discovered that the pH of the soil there ranges between 8 and 9, which indicates that it is very alkaline. Do you know what that means? In the presence of sunlight and water, plants could actually grow there. It is entirely possible to cultivate vegetables such as green beans and turnips, both of which thrive in alkaline soil. A significant portion of natural gas is composed of methane, which is a form of hydrocarbon. Methane is a significant gas that contributes to climate change. Methane is released into the atmosphere through processes that are organic. In terms of environmental benefits, methane shines because it is the most energy-dense hydrocarbon. And yet, it produces far less carbon dioxide and other pollutants that contribute to smog and unhealthy air than other hydrocarbons. Methane is generally agreed upon as the first indicator of life on a planet. This is because biological processes produce methane. To date, Mars is one of the few planets beyond Earth whose atmosphere has been confirmed by multiple studies to contain methane. Finding methane on Mars is exciting because it may indicate that microbes were or are living there. There are no bovines on the red planet. However, methane production doesn't necessarily require the involvement of microbes or other forms of biology. It can also result from the interaction of rocks, water, and heat. Musk found a lot more methane than anyone had previously found. Even though it hasn't been determined where the methane is coming from, Musk thinks it's proof of past life on the planet. One could say that water is necessary for one's continued existence. Because of the abundance of water on Earth, life has been possible here for a very long time. Water makes up the vast majority of the planet's surface area. Water, in its many forms, is required for a wide variety of metabolic processes, as well as the germination of seeds and plants. A mutually beneficial relationship between two chemical components is what makes up water. These components are hydrogen and oxygen. A molecule of water is composed of 3 atoms total, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. This indicates that oxygen can be derived from water by employing a particular technique in the extraction process. That means life. Unbelievably, Musk was also able to find evidence that water may have flowed on Mars approximately 2.5 billion years ago. This is a discovery that is truly astounding. He was able to demonstrate once more that the water supply had been faulty for an eons-long period of time. Salts, which served as evidence, were the source of this information for them. In addition to the shape of the land on Mars gives the impression that streams used to flow through it. This is evidenced by the abundance of craters and valleys found on the surface of the planet. The realization that there was once a flow of liquid water on Mars lends credence to Elon Musk's plan to establish a human colony there. If water once flowed there, then there is a possibility that it can flow again. The majority of Mars's crust is made up of volcanic basalt rock, which can be found just below the surface dust. According to NASA, the thickness of the crust ranges anywhere from 6 to 30 miles in distance. On Musk's end, he was able to establish that organic molecules can be found in the rocks in the red planet. All that can be concluded from this is that there were microorganisms present there billions of years ago. An additional discovery, on the other hand, gives rise to the hypothesis that the organic molecules in question could have been the product of chemical reactions that took place between water and rock eons ago. In either scenario, however, the term organic refers in the end to something that contains some form of life. Musk's mission, which is expected to take at least 30 years, will be dependent on the search for life's existence. Not only does he conduct ground-based research, but also aerial research. In the red planet's atmosphere, they were able to discover carbon isotopes that only mean 3 things. Either life existed on the planet at one time, the planet was exposed to UV radiation, or the dust came from outer space. The chemical signature of ancient microbial life on Earth is an abundance of isotopes. Could this also be true of Mars? Well, then we need to conduct more studies to confirm that. However, carbon is the primary constituent of all organic compounds. This could mean life was there. The discoveries made by NASA and Elon Musk have fundamentally changed the way we think about Mars. When Musk first discussed his objective, it sounded like a pipe dream to listeners. His message elicited a variety of reactions, with some individuals expressing unease regarding his proposition, while others expressed excitement regarding it. The only real concern he has had regarding his mission is ensuring the well-being of the human beings who will eventually settle on Mars.
SpaceX ultimately will be doing several 100,000 tons to orbit, maybe 1 million tons to orbit. So in this year, if things go well, SpaceX will do 90% of all payload to Earth. And then as Starship really takes off, SpaceX will be doing, at least based on what other companies are currently doing,
Elon Musk unveils his grand vision for SpaceX, a daring plan to revolutionize space travel.
So that's groundbreaking. It really is. This sort of power, SpaceX are claiming that this rocket is twice as powerful as the rocket that took us to the moon, which was the Saturn V created by NASA.
At this point, knock on wood, SpaceX is quite prosperous. SpaceX did about 80% of all payload to orbit last year of Earth. China did about 12%, and the rest of the world did 8%.
With SpaceX dominating Earth's orbit, Elon Musk sets his sights on even greater feats, including missions to Mars.
Now, for the first time, SpaceX has carried out an on-the-ground test of its huge, super heavy boosters. It brings the company's Starship rocket system one step closer to the moon and Mars. A live stream of the test appeared to show the engines firing, huge clouds of smoke pouring across the launch site. The company's owner, Elon Musk, tweeted that 31 of the Super Heavy booster's 33 rocket engines fired for about 10 seconds, enough engines, he said, to reach orbit.
So basically, Mars has to be completely self-sufficient in order to pass the Fermi Great Filter. The particular great filter I'm talking about is if something calamitous happens to one planet, is humanity gone or not?
Neve Shaw, a scientist, engineer and writer, explained what the ground test means for future space travel.
The rocket itself will launch eventually, we reckon in the next month or so, but that just can't happen. There has to be a number of tests, and testing the engines is an important part of it.
I mean, to be clear, at the start of SpaceX, I gave us a less than 10% chance of success. I thought we'd probably. But I think if something's important enough, it's worth doing, even if you think it's going to fail. And we almost did fail. The first 3 launches of our small rocket failed. Only the 4th one launched, succeeded. And if that 4th one had failed, we would be. So it's close.
SpaceX conducts groundbreaking tests of its super heavy boosters, a crucial step towards realizing Musk's ambitious goals.
And this rocket is composed of 2 parts. The Starship is what it's called. It's composed of kind of 2 parts or 2 stages. The lower stage is the Super Heavy, and that is the one that has the majority of the thrust and the power that will get the upper part, the Starship, into orbit or onwards to the moon and Mars. So the lower part, the Super Heavy, has 33 engines at its base, and they're Raptor engines which have been designed specifically by SpaceX. Never before until today did we see all of those engines firing at the same time. Now, 2 didn't. 1 failed to start, another one just stopped itself. But even, as you said, as Elon Musk tweeted earlier, even having 31 will definitely get to the moon.
The follow-up to the shuttle, to the Saturn V was the Space Shuttle. Space Shuttle could only go to low Earth orbit. But the aspiration was to make it reusable. But they unfortunately did not succeed in that goal. The Space Shuttle was so difficult to refurb that it ended up costing as much as the Saturn V. And then the primary structure of the Space Shuttle orbital system, that big orange tank, it's actually the primary airframe, because it takes the load from the orbiter, the sort of airplane-looking thing, and the side boosters. So you lose that every time. The side boosters land in the ocean, and they're solid rocket boosters, so that they have to get you back to the factory to get solid propellant loaded in. Cut a long story short, the cost per flight of the shuttle ended up being roughly the same as a Saturn V expendable. But the shuttle had about a quarter of the payload to orbit and could not reach the moon.
And also NASA's latest rocket, the Space Launch System, which successfully took the Artemis and the Orion capsule to orbit the moon and returned there in December. So this is a mighty rocket. And the upper part of it is Starship. This will have the capacity to bring up to 100 people at some stage in the future to the moon and onwards to Mars or cargo. So it's very big, and it has the capacity to carry much, much, much bigger cargo than we've ever seen before.
Musk emphasizes the necessity of Martian self-sufficiency, a critical milestone in humanity's quest to surpass the Fermi Great Filter.
So I think we may have achieved consciousness, or consciousness that's capable of developing technology just in time. I find it remarkable that we are at this point in history where we are able, for the first time, to go beyond Earth, to send people. We sent people to the moon in the early 70s, but have since not gone back. I think it would be wise to not assume that it'll be open for a long time.
So,
and act now to make life multiplanetary.
Against daunting odds, SpaceX prepares to launch its revolutionary rocket, defying skeptics and pushing the boundaries of possibility.
Let's talk about what they learned from it, because we've seen a tweet from Bill Nelson, who is the administrator at NASA, and he seems quite pleased with what they were doing, because as we say, we have to put this into some perspective. There were some people who didn't even think it would clear the platform.
Yeah, and Elon Musk was pretty worried about that too. They've got another one in the shed, literally in the shed, behind the launch complex here, and a few others as well that are sort of nearing completion.
Musk reflects on SpaceX's humble beginnings, recalling the initial doubts and the audacity to pursue greatness against all odds.
We're hoping to have the first humans on the moon in less than 5 years. Mars, maybe a little longer than 5 years. I'd be surprised if we don't have humans on Mars within 10 years.
wow.
Yeah. And then we're going to aim to have a lot of humans and build a city on Mars and a base on the moon. A lot of resources. Now, I should say, in order to pass the Fermi Great Filter of being a multi-planet species, the second planet has to be self-sustaining. So that the acid test being that if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming for any reason whatsoever, could be mundane or serious, will Mars out or not?
The intricacies of rocket engineering are laid bare as SpaceX engineers grapple with the challenges of creating reusable launch vehicles.
I mean, I was looking at pictures afterwards of the launch complex itself, the pad. Now, normally rockets, big rockets, they go with what's called a deluge system. So you've probably seen this. As they're about to launch, they flood the launch pad with water to sort of dampen the vibrations, the acoustic shock, all the rest of it.
So noble ideas at the start, but ultimately it was not a good design. So, and then the shuttle retired, obviously, and then we had nothing. That curve that's not a good curve, going from the moon to low Earth orbit to nothing. That does not extrapolate to being a multi-planet species. Things that make people excited to get up in the morning and say, yes, humanity is going to do some amazing thing in space.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, because we are showing on our website, we have a lovely diagram of the various rockets through history and just how big Starship and this heavy rocket are compared to, I mean, Saturn V is the next one down, and then SLS Block 1. So, and I mean, just looking at that compared to what seems tiny now, Space Shuttle, this is a giant, isn't it?
It's a giant, and it's interesting. I was in the room in 2016 when Elon Musk walked on stage and rolled out his grand design at the Astronautical Conference about getting to Mars. And even then, he was talking about this sort of level of engineering. And he came out and he was talking about these engines. And at the time, nobody really kind of believed that we could possibly conceive about going to Mars. It was sort of pie in the sky. But he's sort of broken it down into achievable chunks. And we hope, as you said already, to see a test orbit or an orbital test launch in the coming weeks. And today was a really important part of that.
My religion, for lack of a better word, is one of curiosity, where we want to expand the scope and scale of consciousness on Earth and beyond Earth, and ultimately to other star systems. And in order to do that, we need to increase the number of conscious beings, and we need to advance technology such that we can have a self-sustaining city on Mars. Ultimately, populate the whole solar system and then go beyond our solar system to other star systems. And therefore, we need more humans. Pretty simple.
NASA's latest achievements serve as a testament to human ingenuity, inspiring Musk and SpaceX to reach even greater heights.
But this system, they haven't got one there yet. They were going to put one in, they haven't quite done it. And there's a lot of damage actually to the concrete surfaces around this pad, which they're going to have to repair. They're going to have to do something. And this is 70 meganewtons. I think, I did the calculation, didn't I? It's 100 Concorde airliners on the runway together at Heathrow, all trying to take off at the same time. There's a tremendous amount of power and heat going into the concrete, and any water in that concrete is going to be instantly superheated, and the concrete will just go bang. It'll be chucked out in all directions, and that does appear to have happened today. So they'll have to address that. But yeah, NASA will be quite pleased, I think. They're seeing Musk, make progress. They'll want to see by the end of the year that he's flown at least another 2 of these, I think, and that he does actually make orbit.
The evidence suggests that it is most likely that Mars had liquid water. Well, just over time, the solar system cooled. So Earth used to be much hot. In the very early Earth was like molten rock. So really almost nothing could survive in the beginning. We were just a wall of lava. We're still mostly a wall of lava. We're like creme brulee. Like there's a thin crust, and it's mushy rock very hot mushy rock underneath. And technically, that rock is in a semi-solid state. But as soon as it gets to a low pressure, like pops out of the ocean, you have a volcano, obviously with lava.
Yeah.
So it's at surface ambient pressure, we're basically covered in liquid rock.
Are you aware?
We're a thin crust on liquid rock.
As humanity stands on the cusp of interplanetary travel, Musk envisions a future where mankind ventures beyond Earth's bounds.
What's really mind-boggling is that number should increase by 50% this year. So I guess on the order of like 90% of all mass to orbit, not counting Starship. So as we start launching Starship is like roughly 100 tons to orbit with every flight. There's a path to getting Starship to do over 200 tons with full reusability. So 200 tons to useful orbit with full reusability. And it's really an incredible amount. 1,200 tons of useful load to orbit last year. That's just astounding. So I think that really deserves a round of applause. Like wow, I mean, that's the most mind-blowing. And the rate of increase is just astonishing. Now, these numbers will actually look very small in the future. In order to build a city on Mars, we'll need to be kind of in the million-ton to orbit range. So maybe a little higher, ideally a little higher, but it's sort of, if you just try to get things to the right order of magnitude, like not trying to get to an exact number, but try to get the order of magnitude right. I think it's on the order. It's roughly 1 million tons to Earth orbit. That'll get you roughly 200,000 tons to the surface of Mars. So roughly, approximately 20% of whatever you get to Earth orbit, you can get to the surface of Mars. And figure like maybe we need at least 1 million tons of useful load to the surface of Mars for it to become self-sustaining.
Amidst the excitement and anticipation, Musk remains vigilant, mindful of the challenges that lie ahead on the path to space exploration.
Well, at first, you would have to have a life support system because Mars has a low-density atmosphere, only about 1% the density of Earth, and it's primarily CO2. Now, over time, you can terraform Mars. Terraform means make it like Earth, essentially. And if you warm Mars up, you will. There's a bunch of frozen CO2 that will evaporate, densify the atmosphere, and you'd actually want kind of global warming on Mars, because Mars is about 50% further away from the sun than the Earth. So it gets about less than half the solar energy that Earth does.